How y'all doing today? So I know everybody's probably wondering, like, why are all these fights, on PBC lately, on pay-per-view? Fights that usually we wouldn't have seen on pay-per-view. People kind of scratching their heads on what exactly is going on with that. Um, and some people are speculating that, oh, PBC is going broke or whatever moronic thing they always say because, PBC's been broke, has been, quote, going broke since its conception. So whatever. That's what, people would like to say. Um, if you see, when it pertains to Showtime, the regular, PBC events that they have on regular Showtime, they're stayed that. None of them are being put on pay-per-view really. Obviously certain fights that are pay-per-view worthy, like Javante Tank Davis, like a Earl Spence, those are definitely, yes, they're going to be pay-per-view. Which, ironically, Spence usually fights on Fox pay-per-view, but now he's actually fighting on this next particular fight. He's fighting actually on Showtime pay-per-view. The Canelo fight was on Showtime, and I guess Showtime actually had outbid Fox actually for that. So that's why it was over there. The issue is that PBC had a deal with Fox. It was like a 3 or 4 fight deal, or a year deal, or whatever. They actually extended the money and everything like that. And at the end of the contract, they had Fox had an option where Fox could extend the contract for an extra year. But in that extension, PBC would get less dates, and they would also get less money for that particular year. Now, obviously, PBC would not want to do this, and they were negotiating, trying to come up with a new deal. What I'm figuring is that PBC obviously wants more money, wants a bigger deal than what Fox is willing to give. And PBC believes that they must have something set up where if they go somewhere else, they could get paid substantially more money and get a substantially bigger deal than the one they have with Fox. But Fox, again, they have that ability to still basically hold them. It's almost like the NFL where you have your contract ends, but then they can franchise tag you. Except when it comes to the football, they franchise tag you, yeah, but you get paid at the higher, whoever the top guys is, that's basically what you're getting paid. You're pretty much the highest paid player, basically, almost as far as that year is concerned in that position. Well, obviously this is a little bit different because it's kind of backwards. They're holding you for another year, but they can give you less dates, and they can give you less licensing fees as well. They pay less licensing fees as well. So because of that, obviously, I think that's pretty much is the main reason why they're on pay-per-view. Right now, there's no actual dates. They still have to pay PBC for those particular fights that they are putting on Fox. So it's like we can put it on pay-per-view. We can just put it on pay-per-view, and PBC themselves are not going to care, just due to the fact that their fighters are still going to get paid. That's number one. You're still going to get your million, your 700,000, your million, your 1.2, whatever it might be. But you're actually also in a position, and you'll get put into a space where you can actually make more money. Like they were talking about the Ortiz versus Andy Ruiz fight. I mean, versus what the hell's his name? Martin fight. How that was on pay-per-view. And they're like, oh, it only did 50,000. Well, that's 50,000 pay-per-views at $75 a pop. And according to Mike Coppinger, when it comes to the pay-per-view, it ain't no 50-50 like before when it comes to them. When it comes to these networks, it's more like a 60-40 towards the fighter's way and towards the company's way. Al Heyman has pretty much set it up like that. They pretty much set it up like that. And also with the digital world, sometimes you don't necessarily have to pay these cable companies also if the fights are bought directly through the apps, like Showtime. When it came to Javante Tank Davis fight, according to Espinoza, because they were lying, trying to say that, oh, they only did 90,000, and Espinoza's like, he did that on digital sales alone. He did that on digital sales alone. That means, so that's half your pay-per-views where you don't even have to give it to all these different broadcast systems, because it's going directly. They come in directly to the source in order to buy it, online. Then whatever split they have with Showtime, then that's what that is. So that's pretty much what the issue is. The issue is that I believe the issue is that PBC, they either pay us more or we're gonna go somewhere else. you know, and PBC does numbers. People just kind of, you know, don't say anything about it. Like somebody else does 2 million views on, and it's, oh my gosh, they did 2 million views, or 1.5 million, 2, 3. It's like, oh, it's like a big, huge thing. Even with the regular PBC shows, they do 1 million plus on a regular basis. You know, I forget, I don't remember this. Italian kid fought a couple of weeks ago on Fox, did over 3, and people wondering, like, why do they have this young kid headlining? Like, well, why is he headlining this freaking show? He did 3 million views. You know, a lot of shows you'd be surprised where you wouldn't, you know, realize it, but people see, oh, it's PBC, and they stay on it. A lot of people now recognize that brand. So when they're turning it on, oh, it's PBC, and they'll stop and they'll just watch it. You know, so they consistently get 1, 2, 3 million views. If they put a bigger fight up there, they can get even more views. You know, we've seen PBC do as high as 5, 6 million views for their shows. You know, so, and it kind of reminds me of the situation like last time when they were paying for rights. You know, they're paying for TV time, you know, out of their own pocket. And people are like, damn, you know, how's this going to work? How is actually this going to work? You know, what are they going to do? How are they going to, they can't just keep doing this, you know? And then they had a little Spike deal. All of a sudden, the Spike deal was gone. You know, like, oh, Spike just left them. They were working kind of with ESPN. They stopped working with ESPN. Like, yo, what are they going to do? They're going to be done. People just wondering. All of a sudden, poof, Fox deal pops up. Showtime deal pops up. You know, $500 million freaking deal. And it's like, whoa. Even before that happened, when they were fighting on HBO and Showtime, and they basically got pushed out of HBO. I remember people saying that, yo, this guy's signing up all these guys. He has over 200 fighters. What the hell is he gonna do? Where's he gonna go? You know, there's not enough dates for all these fighters. Like, what are they doing? All of a sudden, poof, PBC gets formed. You know, he got $500 million from investors to back to back it. And he put all this money on the back of his fighters because he believed in them. You know, on the Earl Spencers, on the Charlos, on the Danny Garcias, the Keith Thurmans, the Sean Porters, you know, the Gary Russell Jr.'s, the Deontay Wilders. He believed in them. And he put all this money on their back and said, yo, we're going to do this. And he made it. And he got to this point. So now when he's in this position and people are like, what's going on? You know, oh, are they going broke? Even though they're still doing their shows. They're doing their shows. Fighters are getting paid. You know, doing their pay-per-views. Doing their regular broadcasting as far as, you know, Showtime is concerned. Obviously, this over here is pay-per-view, but ain't nobody crying. You know, everybody's crying is on that's complaining pretty much for the most part is on the outside. You know, then Adrian Broner says a couple of things like, oh, see, the guy who was having alcohol issues and drug issues, and mental issues. Yeah, that guy. People are upset that, oh, you know, look at them. They're just paying him some money in installments. You know, instead of, they probably put in this contract because they actually care about the kid. And he's been running through all his damn money, getting into all kinds of trouble, gambling his money, doing all this moronic stuff, and set up something where he just got a $10 million payday. Instead of that money being blown out the damn water in 2-3 months, you know, they can keep him with a consistent stream of income for years to come with those funds. So they're helping him out, understanding the state that he's in, instead of just saying, oh, F it, let me just give it to him and just let him blow it away. Kind of like Reebok saw what the hell Allen Iverson was doing. It's like, yo, let's take this money and let's put this into this particular account, and, you know, where you can't get it till you're 40 years old. And let's put that into the contract, because there are people around him that actually cared about him and saw the BS that he was doing and the things he was getting into. Was like, yo, he needs a backup plan, because he's going to run through everything. And he ran through everything. But as soon as he turned 40 years old, you know, he had to split it with his wife, but boom, $15 million in his pocket. Hopefully he's been able to be smart and intelligent with that, hopefully. But it gave him time, you know, to figure things out. You know, so now these people are looking out for this kid, and all of a sudden there's an issue with that as well. But it is what it is. You know, what I've always learned is when it comes to somebody like Al Heyman, when people are sitting back and wondering, you know, and then you don't understand what's going on and you can't figure it out, you know, it always, you know, it's always, he just hits everybody in the face. It's kind of like, bam, you know, and then everything becomes clear, and it's like, yo, that's a bad dude. So this is a guy that's been doing it big for decades in the music industry, and has been doing it when it comes to boxing. He clearly knows what he's doing. The whole team clearly are very intelligent, and whatever's going on, I think in the next couple of months, they might be able to figure out a deal where they actually end up, ending up, setting up a long-term 3, 4, 5 year deal that's very lucrative. Or it could be a situation where it's a whole year of you're kind of just seeing these kind of pay-per-view bouts on Fox, a lot of more of the major fights actually being put on Showtime, and then once the year's over, then whatever PBC has set up or has, on a pipeline, you end up seeing what's going on next year in 2023. But as I always say, we'll see what the future holds. Like, subscribe, share. I'm out.